This is Locked On Bets, the daily betting show that means business from the Locked On Podcast Network. Hosted by Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers, they're dropping fearless picks with an inside edge to put money in your pocket. If there's action, they've got the lock. This is where smart bets start. It's Locked On Bets.
Welcome to the Thursday edition of Locked On Bets. We appreciate you making Locked On Bets your first listen of the day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Kevin Rogers and Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports with you, and a very loaded show today. Great news. We're 2 days out from week 0 of the college football season, so we got a lot of big games coming up. We talked yesterday about Kansas State, Iowa State. We have 2 more games to preview coming up today. Stanford and Hawaii. The Andrew Luck era begins at Stanford. Well, he's the GM, but still, maybe his aura will help the Cardinal out. And also Fresno State, Kansas. Big one there in Lawrence. We will break both those games down. We have a WNBA play as well, and we'll recap last night's action. But first, we begin with a Thursday afternoon blowout on the Diamond.
Oh, boy. Last one out, turn off the lights. This one's a blowout.
Speaking of blowouts, how about the Rockies knocking around Shohei Ohtani last night? They beat L.A. and Colorado. Yeah, they've had a terrible season, but they played a little better since the All-Star break. Dodgers tapered off a bit. They won a few games out in Colorado, but still finale of that series at Coors Field today. And Lee, you have your eyes on Hunter Goodman of the Rockies on a prop with him.
Yeah, so he grades out number 1 on today's slate, according to my algorithm. Caught me off guard here, all the Dodgers power in Coors. Goodman, ton of power, including 8 homers against lefties this year. And the version we're seeing of Clayton Kershaw is just not very good. He's hitting a lot of bats of late. If I was him, I probably would have retired a year or 2 ago, but these guys, they seem to hang on a lot of times too long. And we're getting the best hitter on board, I think, at a premium price here in Coors. So just like last night, we're going to see some power. Our man Mike Trout got the job done for us, and I think Hunter Goodman is going to get it done here. And I think we're going to see a double, maybe even a triple, and a home run. We're going to go over 1.5 total bases, and hint, it's going to be on my card for my clients here. It's going to be my blowout special.
Rockies are now 7-2 in the last 9 games, which is kind of amazing. And yeah, they're not going to catch anybody because they have the worst record in baseball, but still at least playing with a little bit of confidence. And, at least towards the end, you feel like that this team maybe could be a little bit competitive. I know they have a long way to go, but also quickly, Lee, on the Dodgers, just I know that they feel like they built up enough to stay atop the NL West, but the Padres have won a couple against the Giants. But do you think LA is running out of gas, or they'll put it all together when they hit October?
Oh, I think they're going to put it all together. You know, it's baseball, 162 games. If you look at just 10-game, I look at 10-game little splits of teams, you think that, like I said, Colorado is going to be a contender maybe next year. So every team has a couple, even my Marlins, 10-game splits where they look good. I think they're just, a little bored right now, maybe overlooking some of their opponents, but I think they'll refocus, and I still think they're the best team in baseball, and it's not even close.
Now we'll see what we get with Shohei Ohtani in the playoffs when he's on the mound, and obviously we know what he can do at the plate. Taking a look back at what unfolded last night for our picks, 2-2. You mentioned, Lee, Mike Trout with a couple hits. You didn't need just a home run from him. You got 2 hits from him. So the Angels ended up beating the Reds, and you got a couple hits from him.
He's great when the pressure's off. So maybe that's why he's, like I said, stayed as an Angel and not tried to push for a trade to get on a contender. So like I said, when the bright lights are off, that's when Mike Trout does his best work. Not saying he's not a good player, but he just seems to perform better when no one's looking.
And we also had the Athletics. They beat the Twins last night in extra innings, a game the A's led 2-0. Minnesota tied it. Both teams had opportunities throughout the game, but the A's ended up winning it. And now it's 11 straight losses for the Twins when Bailey Ober starts.
Twins, I mean, it's going to be tough for them to sell season tickets next year. They traded off a lot of their key players, and they have one superstar, and I don't know if you can name the second best player on that team. So if they're going to try to talk about the future and try to build for the future, they're going to have to maybe sign some free agents in the offseason if they want to make a push and sell some season tickets and build some type of optimism there with their fans.
Now, as far as the two defeats, Cardinals, Marlins stayed under the total after they had two high-scoring games. Sandy Alcantara, look at him bouncing back last night.
Yeah, we had plenty of runners on base. All we needed really, was one big hit either side. Just couldn't come up with it. So thought we found a spot there. Not the case. Sandy finally pitched a good game. I think it's like his first good game in like 4 or 5 games.
And the final one, I'm surprised in how this one just turned out. The Royals were up early on the Rangers, and Texas came back and won that game. Jacob deGrom didn't pitch. They skipped him because they want to save him. And it turned out that Texas rallied back for the win.
Yeah, not the result we were looking for. No. Sometimes you say move on.
Yeah, and that's all you can do. And 2-2, but still so far a winning week, and a couple of college football games we'll get to in a little bit also. If you missed it yesterday, Lee had Kansas State against Iowa State. Obviously, the game's not until Saturday in Dublin, but still that one is so far one we'll be keeping an eye on going into the weekend. And before we hit the break here, Lee, I know we're going to have a couple college football picks coming up, but anything catch your eye yet for week 1 in college football?
Yeah, so, there's a couple injuries. You got to pay attention to injuries, so that's a big part of it. So I just think that if you're looking at a couple games, let's say like Alabama and Florida State, and you like the Alabama side, you might want to get on it now. The number's sitting at 13.5. You don't want to give up 2 touchdowns or 14.5 or 15 points. That's a key number. And I think that's something there. Also, the Ohio State program finally decided on a starting quarterback. So now you can at least prepare and know, if you're going to back the Ohio State or go against them side, which quarterback to study up on. But I like the fact that a lot of these power teams are scheduling teams in week 1, where they could take a loss. If you take a loss early or you're in the SEC, take 2 losses, I still think you're going to be in. So I like the fact that we saw LSU, Alabama, and Texas all schedule some heavy hitters in week 1, and I think that makes it fun for the fans also. And then also in my handicapping coming up this year, I think I'm going to probably be releasing more ACC plays. Why? They are the only conference that's going to be like the NFL that's going to release injury reports starting on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We'll see how detailed they are. We'll talk about it next week. Hopefully they go with a probable, questionable, doubtful, and out system like the NFL does. If they do, it's going to make my handicapping a little bit easier, and I'll probably release more games. When you're trying to handicap and the only other conference is the Big Ten releasing who's available on Saturday mornings, I think things have changed. It's made the NFL a lot easier and also more beatable. So let's hopefully see some of these other conferences, take that in mind and install that for 2026.
Well, we do have an ACC team we're going to look at coming up. Still weird to say. I don't care. Stanford, even though I will never get over that. Them going from the Pac-12 to the ACC, but they're still part of the Atlantic Coast Conference. They're playing Hawaii coming up. We will look at that game. Also, Kansas and Fresno State. And a couple big games on Saturday. Also, we have a WNBA first quarter play. Has some good numbers here on this Mystic Sun in the first quarter. So that we will look ahead to. So all of that is straight ahead. You are listening to Locked On Bets. Let's talk now about FanDuel. And what's really cool is August 26th, which is next week, is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. So You're looking to maybe put a bet on an MVP in the NFL? You could. Lamar Jackson of the Ravens. He's the favorite right now at plus 430. Also, Buffalo's Josh Allen and Joe Burrow of the Bengals, each at 6-1. Patrick Mahomes of the Chiefs at plus 650. You want to take a shot with Jaden Daniels of the Commanders after he had a great rookie season. He's at 10-1. Ashton Genty of the Raiders, he is the favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year at plus 250. So a lot of great choices also. Do you want to pick your Super Bowl champion? Will the Eagles repeat? Will the Chiefs bounce back? Or will someone else come out of the weeds and win the Super Bowl this year? Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets right now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only, coming up August 26th. FanDuel, play your game. We continue here, Locked on Bets. We still have a couple college football games to hit on for Saturday. Stanford and Hawaii, Fresno State and Kansas. That's all coming up. But first, let's take a look at the WNBA and tonight's Hidden Gem.
To find a diamond in the rough, you need to dig a little deeper for those hidden gems.
I will say in full disclosure, Lee, that I have been tracking this, and I know this is totally going to blow up in my face tonight, but I'm still going to go with it. I'm still going to ride this. Okay. So Washington and Connecticut, they're meeting for the second time in 3 nights. Connecticut beat Washington a few nights ago in D.C. They're hooking up in Connecticut tonight. I'm taking the under first quarter 39.5 between these teams. Now, here's why I say this whole thing's going to blow up in my face. So the Washington Mystics are short favorites tonight, and 5 times as a road favorite this year in the first quarter. Here are the amount of points they've scored in the opening 10 minutes. 10, 9, 11, 14, and 13. They've stunk. They've been terrible in the first quarter as a road favorite. They've been much better as a road dog. So I'm going to ride the trend of them not scoring a lot in the first quarter. Now, the game on Tuesday, Washington led 23-21, went over 41.5. Why is tonight down to 39.5? Also, Connecticut, last 4 games from three-point range, they've allowed opponents to shoot 2 of 18 in the first quarter. And the cherry on top, Washington, worst three-point shooting team in the first quarter, 27.7%. Let's take the Mystics and the Sun under in the first quarter for our Hidden Gem.
Love it. So those shooting percentages from three-point land, that mirrors what I do. Seems like 3 out of every 4 games I play. So I can feel for what these teams are going through. So 3-point shooting in WNBA, I think, is down if you track that this year. So they've got to find some shooters there. You want to create some excitement and get the league going again. You know, obviously Caitlin Clark's been out. That's hurt them a lot. But they just don't have a lot of girls that can really shoot lights out. And I think that's what's missing right now in the WNBA. So you're going to take advantage of it. Let's hopefully see something like a 10-8 or a 12-10 first quarter, and then we move on, and I can watch some preseason football.
And then they could score a ton of points. They could hit all the threes they want in the final 3 quarters, not in the first quarter. So that's our WNBA play for tonight. And now let's shift to college football and week 0. Several games, but also, you know, what's great about week 0 is even though there's only a handful of games, people still paying attention to these teams that maybe won't get the focus like we talked about earlier, like if Ohio State, Texas, Alabama, FSU, Miami, Notre Dame, Clemson, LSU in week 1. So week 0, the first game we will look at today, Stanford and Hawaii. Frank Reich making his debut as head coach of the Cardinal. They have got to get things in check, and here they're going to Hawaii.
What the fuck?
WTF.
Yeah, so Stanford was a complete mess. They fired their head coach. There were allegations of some things going on with the previous coach that they just had to move on from. Frank Reich, who coached the NFL, of course, with the Buffalo Bills, led the great comeback against the Oilers years ago. Now he's the guy. Andrew Luck is running things in the front office of Stanford. We'll see what they do here against Hawaii, Lee. So what are your thoughts on the Cardinal and the Warriors?
Well, you hit on it. You're like, how did Frank Reich, who is coaching the NFL, go back to college? Andrew Luck, he's the GM. So it looks like it's just going to be a 1-year deal. We're not exactly sure, but that's what we're hearing. They want to write the program. So the emphasis is on winning now, not player development. And I think that played into their choice at quarterback. Andrew Gulbinson is a kid who is in his 5th year. He played at Oregon State, had 11 starts, and I think he's a competent quarterback, and he's a guy to at least be a bridge quarterback and get them to their next guy. So the problem here with Stanford is they can't play with the better teams. But if you look at Hawaii's roster, I'm looking at their recruits. These are a lot of two-star guys, even some one-star guys, and they're just not able to get top-level recruits. They used to be able to get some guys from transfers in the past, looking to make a new start. I think that they might eventually get there, but their recruiting budget smallest or second smallest in college football. Can't make many trips to go to the mainland to see, and it's important to see players in person how they do. So that's been a problem for them, and the stadium. They're not even playing at their home stadium. You used to have the minor league baseball stadium that was a dual-purpose stadium. They're rebuilding that. They're trying to get that going. There was word that they might get that completed by 2028. Now they're looking at maybe 2029 or even 2030. So they're playing on campus. It's got a capacity of 16,000. It looks really and feels like maybe 6,000 to 8,000. So not much of a home advantage here. And then Stanford went there 2 years ago, and they weren't any better 2 years ago, and they laid it on Hawaii. So I think Stanford is just a cut above here, and I like the fact Frank Reich taking over for this at least 1 year is going to be a difference. Play calling and instituting, I think, a sound system on offense, and I think they'll probably get a couple turnovers unless we see some. I don't know. Did you ever used to watch the late night games, Kevin, at 12 midnight decade ago?
Yeah, sometimes I did. It was a little late for me, but yeah.
Used to be some real funny things take place. Used to see a lot of times Hawaii, they would gain like 8-9 yards, and you'd see the official just point first down, just keep the chains going. And you're like, what's going on here? The average person's not staying up, to watch a 12 midnight start on the East, on Eastern time, or even Pac-12, the Pacific time started at 9 o'clock. So what was happening is that, and the worst part was the officiating. I mean, you would see teams like Notre Dame go there, and they'd go up 14-0, move right down the field. And then all of a sudden, you'd see 2 or 3 straight possessions where they call the opponent for holding 2 or 3 times in a row. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, it's the middle of the third quarter, late third quarter, and it's a 1-touchdown game. So we haven't seen that of late. So if we were looking at the, late 90s, early 2000s, we might, lay off this game. But I think Stanford's the right side here. I think the wrong team is favored. We're going to go with the battling Andrew Luck's and Frank Reich's here. I think Stanford gets the job done as an underdog.
I want to ask you this question, Lee, and I don't know if you have the answer, but just your opinion. What exactly does Andrew Luck do as the GM? Because now this is a new thing in college football, the general manager, because usually it was the head coach that just ran everything, and now you need someone else doing things. I know you have NIL and other things, but what Andrew Luck, who played in the NFL, was the former number 1 pick, successful quarterback, what is he doing here? I know he played at Stanford, but what is he doing to help the program? Like, what is his job?
It's a combination. It's really how much the head coach and also the athletic department wants to let him do. Like here at Miami, I think it was Alonzo Highsmith for a couple years, and he felt like, he wasn't doing much. You had someone like Mario Cristobal, who is a control freak, likes to have his imprint and his hands in everything. Alonzo was, for instance, a really good scout with the Packers and many other teams, and he was able to identify some players, and I just don't think he had enough input. But I do think that you're going to see Andrew Luck have some input, and he's going to be recruiting players, feeding them players, especially at the skill position, who he thinks can make a difference. They're not going to spend the money in NIL like some of these other teams. Their selling point is a great education, which it should be. You want to say you're selling a top education to a kid and a family, and you're going to be coached up by some quality coaches and playing in one of the better conferences. So I think in Andrew Luck's case, I think he's going to be, setting things up. He's going to be talking to boosters, getting them involved, raising money, and also getting involved with picking and getting some of those top-level players at the skill position. So I think it's actually a good hire for Stanford. Some of these other programs like Miami, and maybe even like North Carolina with Bill Belichick, maybe not so much.
Right, and we'll see how much input or Andrew Luck has with the quarterbacks and how he'll teach them, moving forward. A team that's won 3 games each of the last few years, they need to get something going at the quarterback position. Coming up, we're going to take a look at another college football matchup, Kansas and Fresno State, a couple teams that struggled last year trying to get on track. That is coming up right here on Locked On Bets. Locked On Bets continues here on this Thursday. Kevin Rogers and Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports. And the final game we'll look at today, Kansas and Fresno State. And the Jayhawks, first time, I'll give you this little nugget here, Lee, before the breakdown. First time since 2020 that the Jayhawks are facing an FBS team in their opener. They usually draw an FCS school, but they decided to step up this year and battle Fresno State. So we'll see how that affects them as we look at today's Lock of the Day.
Open it, open it, open it. Lee has the key to the Lock of the Day.
Fresno State 6-7 last year. Kansas 5-7. Fresno has actually covered their last 2 season openers as dogs. They won at Purdue a few years ago, covered at Michigan last year in a loss. So we'll see what they do against the Jayhawks in Lawrence, Lee.
Yeah, a couple of regimes ago, Fresno State had that saying anytime, any place, and they would travel anywhere and pulled off a few upsets or played a lot of teams right down to the wire. I think that this program has finally found their coach here. Matt Entz was coaching at Temple. He brings in his quarterback, E.J. Warner, who's actually a really competent passer. So, normally first-year regimes, new coach, the quarterbacking is a problem. Not the case. They've actually got a really good running back in Donaldson. So, couple nice receivers. I think the offensive and defensive lines need some work here, but it's not like Kansas is going to bully you here. Jalen Daniels, decent season last year. I think he had 13 touchdowns, but 11 interceptions. He was not 100%, probably better now. I think he's in his 6th year. They're going to be excited about the opening of the new stadium. They only have one side completed, the home side. There is a lot of optimism there. They're floating a lot of money. A lot of big donors have come into the program, and that's going to help. But, maybe, there's a little bit too much being talked about all of a sudden opening up the new stadium. Sometimes, like when teams had the ring ceremony, they don't perform well. So I think some of these other outside activities that are taking place might be a distraction for this team. So I think Kansas, and I love Leopold as a coach, really good. But I think this is a transition year for him. 13 points, laying 13 points, almost double digits against a competent opponent with a really good quarterback and a team that's going to be geared up to play. It's not going to be like they're playing an FCS opponent here. Let's take the points. I think Kansas will win the game, something like 30 to 23, but I think 13 points is just a little bit too much. It's going to be my level 2 lock to end Friday.
All right. Looking forward to all these games we have coming up in week 0. And then, of course, a huge slate in week 1 of college football starting next Thursday. So with that being said, Lee, final week of the preseason, week 1 next week, week 0, a couple more games I'm sure you'll release. So tell us what's going on at Paramount Sports.
Well, first off, first thing that's taking place is UFC. It's UFC from China. It starts actually at 3 a.m. on Saturday morning. So you want to get involved. You don't want to wait until Saturday. When you wake up, it's going to be over. So you want to get involved with that. We've won 10 of the last 13 cards. How about this? Normally on the website, ParamountSports.com, three selections, $33. If you use coupon code SAVE30, all lowercasing, SAVE, do not put a space in between the word and the number. SAVE30, 3 selections, $3. So you want to try us out in the UFC. And we've had a lot of success. We've got one big, nice underdog there, too. And we've hit, actually, I think it's now in the last 5 cards, we've hit underdogs better than plus 250 to 500 in 5 straight cards. So you want to get a slight underdog there on one of the fights and a couple parlays. Check it out, ParamountSports.com. 3 selections, just $3. in the coupon code SAVE30 when you're checking out. Football, week 0 starts on Saturday. You want to get the edge there. We've won 30 of 31 years. You can get 6 weeks from this weekend all the way through the end of September. We call it, like I said, September to Remember special. Normally, $8.97, just $5.97 works out to less $100 a weekend. $5.97 for our September to Remember special through the end of September. It's our phone service, $5.97, and through the Super Bowl, $19.97. Check it all out, ParamountSports.com.
And you also find us on X Lee at Paramount Sports, myself at Rogers Picks. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Locked On Bets. The audience growing day by day. And also our podcast you could find as well on your favorite audio platform. One more day left in the week, and then we're going to get to college football Saturday. So very much looking forward to that. For Lee Sterling, I am Kevin Rogers. We appreciate you tuning in to another edition of Locked On Bets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network.